Good evening, Wood County. I'm Brooke Ebersole, General Manager here at BG24 News. Every week, we bring you the stories that matter most on campus, in the community, across the state, and across the nation. The Producers Panel is where we take a step back and talk about these stories in our own opinion. But these opinions do not reflect the views of the organization and do not impact the way we cover these or any other stories. Tonight, we'll discuss yesterday's tragic plane crash in the French Alps. Then we'll dive into a recent event held on campus that over 1,000 people attended, before finally discussing how both the campus and the city of Bowling Green are going green. It's all here on your BG24 News Producers Panel. Thanks again for joining your BG24 News Producers Panel. I'm going to take a minute and introduce the panel for you. To my right is Executive Producer here, Matt Heitkamp, and to my left is Sports Director, Katie Warnke. Thanks for joining me again tonight, guys.
No problem.
150 people are believed to be dead after a plane crashed in the French Alps. A Germanwings plane left Barcelona yesterday morning, headed towards Dusseldorf. The plane then lost contact with French radar and crashed into the mountains. Rescue and recovery missions were difficult due to the mountain's terrain. This is the 24th fatal plane crash since January of 2014. I think it is safe to say that we have an issue. We have a crisis on our hands here. You know, what is going on with, are we training our pilots the wrong way? Are we? And the other interesting thing I think is that it is mostly foreign airlines.
Yeah, I mean, and there's been so many of them, like you said, 24. That's quite a bit in, you know, just over a year. And you know, the thing is, like, what's going on? Why are these planes crashing? And I know on this one, it's still under investigation. I know they might have found one black box, but they're looking for another one because, you know, those are the things that help them determine what might have caused the crash.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, we need to find out what's happening. Why are these happening?
Yeah.
I think we need to keep into consideration, though, that 24 of those plane crashes might not necessarily be large airlines. A lot of them have been smaller airlines. There was just a crash in Argentina. There was one in Kentucky earlier in the year. So
yeah, that's fair.
It's not always these big, you know, these big airlines.
It's not like the Malaysian one and then this past one. Some of them were not.
The ones that are scary are the ones that kill so many people.
Yeah,
you know?
like it said, 150 people, 144 passengers, 6 crew members. I know they said 18. There was members from 18 different countries in this plane.
Wow.
So this is why it's such big international news. Is that, I mean, there were 3 Americans in the plane as well. So it affects, you know, across the globe.
Right. And I know, you know, it was an issue with the Malaysian airline that the black boxes were nowhere to be found. You know, the batteries were dead, or they were not there to begin with, or something happened there, you know, which I think there's something to be said for the fact that that's not happening. And that is standard operation process to have those things in place for when these types of awful things happen.
Yeah. And obviously, yeah, and it's understandable why they're having issues recovering. I mean, crashing in the Alps, like you mentioned, they're having, you know, just issues that, you know, at first, you know, rescue missions and now just basically recovery missions because everyone is presumed to be dead. It just, you know, that kind of terrain, you know, you just can't, you're endangering other lives just going up and trying to figure how this happened. And, you know, you want to avoid that because it's already tragic enough where if you lost so many lives, you don't want to lose any more.
Right, yeah. I want to know whether, you know, is it worse? Obviously, they're both awful. They're awful tragedies. Is it worse, you know, search-wise, is it worse to have it crash into water, or is it worse to have it crash into mountains? What do you think?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, I think either one is bad, obviously, but I think, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that much about plane crashes, but either one, the impact is going to be enough when you're coming down from that high of an altitude that it is going to be deadly. At least in the water, I mean, debris might be easier to recover if there's not an explosion of some sort. The black box might be found then. I don't know if black boxes float or if they sink.
We were actually just talking about that before we went on, whether they float.
Probably floating if that is such a vital piece of evidence to have in the recovery process. But either one, it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good because not only just the impact of the crash, but you're put in 2 situations where if you did somehow survive the crash, you're in the mountains where, you know, it's cold, it's dangerous terrain, or you're in the middle of an ocean. Regardless,
your survival chances
are slim.
Yeah. And, you know, I think it's also interesting that the media takes these giant plane crashes and, you know, it is such a big deal and it just shocks the nation. But then you also have to think, you know, I get on planes and I get so nervous, but I get in a car every day.
Right.
You know, and there are so many. I think people they overestimate how dangerous planes are. You know, like it's maybe one in every probably like 100,000 planes that crash.
That do
you
crash.
know, but there's a car accident every day. You know, but I think it's interesting that people, you know, I think it's because of the mass death that happens with plane crashes. You know, it's a shock factor, which, you know,
And it's recent events too. I mean, you gotta look at like the other ones that have been happening just this year alone, and that's making everyone consider and look at these more in depth.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that there have been a greater number in such a small concentration of time, and the fact that, like you said, it is a shock factor because car crashes happen every day, but a plane falling out of the sky does not happen every day. And when you have a large multitude of people dying, it does take an effect on, you know, on the news and on people's perceptions of flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, like you mentioned earlier about how luckily, well, there haven't been any like American airlines that have done this. Could you imagine the coverage and just the intensity of that would happen? It would, I mean, because you know, I mean, it was on the front page of CNN yesterday, but I mean, it's still on CNN, but it's not front page. Where if it was like an American airline, it would be.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens here in the coming days with this. Coming up when we return, an event was held on campus this past weekend celebrating nerd culture. We'll have an inside look. Stay with us. This past Saturday, Anna Marathon was held on campus. Over 1,000 individuals of many age ranges showed up in costume to celebrate anime and overall nerd culture. Reporter Alana Nussel has the inside look.
BGSU held its 13th annual Anna Marathon this past weekend. Thousands of participants dressed the part and were able to play games, visit panel discussions, explore the merchandise showroom, and much more. Vice President Mark Kelly said the turnout gets better every year.
And each year we get bigger and bigger. We get like wonderful guests every year. It's amazing. Everyone comes to have a great time, and they do.
Some of the special guests included a Sims voice actress, 2 comic artists, and a YouTube Flash animation artist. Some participants have traveled to many different cities for different anime conventions, but still made their impression at BGSU.
I've been to about over 20 conventions, so like I've been doing this for a long time.
Whether they went by their character's name or their real name, all of the participants put hard work into their costumes.
It only took me 2 weeks to make it, and it takes me about an hour to get ready.
Was able to dress up as a Sim today because that is our staff uniform. It's a red plumb bob because by the end of the day I'm probably going to be very mad and have to pee a lot.
Anime subculture continues to grow at BGSU, and so does Anna Marathon. Reporting for BG24 News, I'm Alana Nussel.
Matt, I know that you helped out a lot during the filming of this all these festivities.
Yeah, I went out with Alana to shoot the package, and I went in costume because I love these things. I dressed up as a character from Game of Thrones.
Now this, correct me if I'm wrong, is the same costume that you wore back in October during Producers Panel.
For our Halloween Producers Panel show, and because it's just convenient that way. I'm not going to go out and buy 2 different costumes. I mean, I don't have I'm spending enough stupid money. I don't need to spend more. But it's just it's fun. I love it. It's a way for just to celebrate overall your nerd culture. You have different panel discussions that people were having of different TV shows and comic books and whatnot, and then you have people selling stuff, memorabilia and apparel. It's just a really fun.
So this is a combination of comic books, a lot of internet, I'm assuming.
Well, it's mainly anime, which because it's called animation.
Right. Okay.
And that's what its focus is supposed to be, and you do see a lot of that.
Where does one access anime?
Well, it's a type of TV shows. What it is.
Okay.
It's a category, and it's like animation from it's a Japanese. It started in Japan, and it's become very popular here in the United States. But it's not just that, but it's just overall your comic books, your nerd, your everything.
Can you, off the top of your head, think of the craziest, most out there, well done costume? And who it was, and
well, every year, because they do this every year. They've done it for over 10 years, I know. You see people who dedicate their time and probably their money into these costumes. If you saw in the package, there was a big Jack skeleton.
Yeah.
That was really cool to see. And it's hard to pick just one because so many people really dedicate their time. I mean, do you guys ever have been into costumes or anything? Even in Halloween?
Halloween, maybe.
I mean,
this is like not up our alley.
Yeah.
This is like watching this package and talking to Alana about it. You know, it was all very brand new to me. This is nerd culture, which I suppose they call it, which until I watched this package, thought was an insult.
Oh.
You know, when I was reading the script before this show, I thought it was an insult. I don't think we can say that. And
Yeah, well, and that's what they even say on their website. They say that we celebrate nerd culture, and maybe now people have embraced it more, and it's becoming more and more popular. A lot of it is like the Marvel movies that we're seeing are becoming so popular, not just for your your nerd group, but everyone's enjoying that kind of stuff. Just and going out dressing up, and there's just exploring what everyone else thinks and what everyone else has to say about these TV shows and comic books and movies.
So you just, sorry, I'm going to cut in. You just mentioned the TV shows. So does this sort of encompass other things than just anime? Does it have your fandoms, like how there's Supernatural, Game of Thrones, TV shows like that? It really encompasses just everything?
Yeah, well, I mean, just whatever people might consider, like that nerd area. Yeah, you have your not just your anime, your TV shows. Like I myself dressing up as Game of Thrones. I saw a couple people dressed up as the Doctor from Doctor Who, which I went as last year Anime Fest. So that was kind of interesting. And yeah, you see, and Supernatural you mentioned. I saw a couple of Sam and Deans and Castiels walking around. Yeah, just any series or thing that embraces that sort of nerd culture. People like to dress up as it, and then they'll go and discuss these things, and you can waste money there, let me tell you what, because they have some cool stuff in their showroom is what they call it, just merchandise and material, and you saw people like drawing and stuff, like and they had virtual reality thing where you could go in your costume and they take a picture of you and then set up whatever kind of background you wanted into it. It's really cool and
yeah. So was there an opportunity? There's just these costumes just blow me away, and so I suppose the things that I'm into, like, you don't like dress up in costumes. So was there like a contest, award? Was there like a costume contest, or do people just do this purely because it's in their heart?
Not that I'm aware of. I know because an event like this reminds me of like a Comic-Con. If you've ever heard of like what Comic-Cons are, those are really, really big. And a lot of times they will have like kind of costume contests there, but I wasn't aware of anyone going on. At least not that I knew of.
Okay, yeah, I think I was standing in the parking lot of my dorm, and someone with a big spiked mohawk and a big, I was intimidated. Like, I didn't know if they were going to say something to me, and then, it kind of clicked, oh, there's that Anna Marathon going on this weekend.
Yeah.
And I think the weather definitely played a big part into the turnout for it.
The weather was great. People were outside doing their like live action role playing. So like they got your your plastic swords and whatnot, and they're out there battling and stuff. It's really cool to look at. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I was on the way to the baseball game because I was at the baseball game this weekend for the doubleheader, and I saw a bunch of the costumes, and I saw the Joker in one of the parking lots, and just some of like the time and effort that people put into the costumes it's really cool. And I think Anime Marathon gives them a chance to really unite with other people that have the same interests as them and have fun.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's not just college students too. You see all kinds of anime, just from little kids to high school to old. I mean, there were some elderly people there in costume.
Really?
Oh yeah. So I mean, because it's basically like a Comic-Con. If you ever been to one of them, you see people of all different age ranges and all different taste and what they like and what they want to do, and they spend a lot of time and a lot of effort into these costumes.
That is definitely a very one-of-a-kind thing, one of a kind. Coming up, the panel and I will discuss both the campus and the city's recent plans to go green. Stay with us. Joining us now, we have a student producer with us, Taylor Collins. Thanks for joining with me tonight. I'm excited to have you on your first camera presence, your first step out in front of the camera.
Yes, thank you so
and I'm glad to finally have another producer on the show because that rarely happens, and it's awesome when it does.
Yeah, Matt's people. Both the city and BGSU are making efforts to go green. BGSU's Masters of Public Administration program is helping the county send out surveys. Their surveys will ask residents how they use recycling services. This would allow the county to better plan future programs. And in other green news, a member of American Municipal Power spoke to city officials about a solar energy project. The AMP is looking for locations to host phase 2 of their solar project. The city submitted several sites for consideration. If approved, the site would be the largest AMP solar site in all of Ohio. I think BGSU has really this year and last year combined has really been the big shove to go green.
Yes, the big push. And you see in that, not only on campus, but in the city too, around, other college campuses. It's becoming such a vital thing for, universities and cities to go green to, and to do things like recycling and solar power.
Yeah, I can remember our general manager from last year she called me and said, do you have a recycling program in your dorm? I said, yeah, but I don't know anything about it. And she said, well, you're supposed to know. You're supposed to be saving your bottles and saving your cans, and then at the end of the week, you go and dump it in the big recycling bin.
So, do you guys recycle often? Do you try to at least?
I actually try to. I actually cut down on a lot of things that I heard was like going green, like just not running your water when you're brushing your teeth as much, or turning down your thermostat when you leave home. It's just little things that I think impact it. But I did live in Mac and Offenhauer on campus 2 years ago, and we really tried to push like recycling, going green, just being better, with such an influx of people, because we are considered now a college town with all of these kids. I think it's really important for all of these people to do their part, because I think it'll make a really big impact.
Yeah, and speaking of dorms, I know like there's always competition on campus. I don't remember what the name of it is, where they have, they judge how much they recycle.
Yeah,
and Recyclemania, that's what it is. I don't live on campus anymore. Do you guys know?
I got in trouble in the dorms because I was so excited about this Recyclemania, and I put things in the recycling bin that apparently you cannot recycle everything. You cannot recycle like food stuff, and like there's a lot of I had it mixed. I had compost and recycling were kind of the same thing to me, and they kind of had to say, okay, Brooke, like you got to separate these. We're gonna lose if you keep throwing things in there that are not recyclable.
I actually heard that Cole Hall was like the best one to have like the recycling bin. I had an RA friend that worked there, and she told me like all the students of her floor would like just come together every like Sunday or Monday and just get all their recycled things out of their room. So I think Cole was like really a good inspiration for the rest of campus to just be more like positive and just think about it. Like just don't throw things away. If you have a bottle, recycle it. It's not, we have recycling bins around campus. So it should,
There are a lot of recycling bins around campus. I know this for a fact because I don't live on campus anymore, but I work for campus ops. And during last summer, and from time to time, I was put on the crew to go and pick up all the recycling. And there are so many on campus, and it takes a good part of an afternoon just to go around and pick all that up. And I've had to, separate some things that weren't supposed to be recycled.
My bad.
so there's that.
I think it would be interesting to see, this is going to sound really negative, what the carbon footprint of the university looks like right now. And I would also like to compare it to, maybe 10 years ago when this recycling movement wasn't such a big deal.
Right.
And the other thing, before this week and this push for the solar thing, I know we have like those windmills that are at the edges of the county.
Right.
But I didn't know that we were on this solar mission now.
Yeah, well, the AMP, like I said, this is like phase 2. Their phase 1 was, putting in some other town, and BG wasn't in consideration for that, but they weren't selected. But now phase 2, they're looking to put up some more panels, and like you said, the city is submitting sites to say, hey, we want to get involved in this because, I'm a big fan of it, of both solar and wind. I say, that's clean energy, that not only produce clean energy, but it'll produce jobs and other things like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I felt the same way. I was going to touch on the job thing. Like, again, with all these people in the city, it's really good to just have that clean energy to, have jobs and get the information out. I love that we come on here and talk about it because a lot of people don't know about it. They don't know about the recycling, or they don't really care. They don't know about the solar energy. So the more we talk about it, the more buzz we get, I think it'll really, really turn out very well for Bowling Green.
Yeah, what really upsets me at times is, because I know my hometown, there was a big thing about if we were going to put up windmills or not. And so many people were against it because of and these are the reasons. Oh, it looks bad. The noise that it'll produce, and those are true. It does produce a lot of noise, but they got to get over the fact that it's going to give you clean energy, which a lot of people don't realize how important that is.
Yeah, I know there was an issue with residents, not so much students, but residents. They were worried about the windmills hitting the birds.
Yeah, well.
Which I suppose is probably going to happen, but. Eye on wrong ball.
It'll affect way more people. This sounds
It'll
bad,
benefit people.
Yeah, and it'll be better for the human race. I hate to sound like that, but it'll be better for us as people, to have that clean energy. Like, I love birds, but I think we need it a little bit more.
Yeah, I think okay, if a bird gets hit by a windmill, that's one thing, but then, you know, a bird is dying from air pollution. Several birds are dying from air pollution. Really, you know,
exactly.
pros and cons here.
Right, and the pros really outweigh the cons, in my opinion. And
Yeah, I agree.
I think more people are starting to think that same way.
Yeah. Coming up when we return, we'll wrap up our show and talk about a recent guest speaker on campus. Stay with us. CNN senior correspondent and Reliable Sources host Brian Stelter came and visited BGSU throughout Monday and Tuesday. Monday he visited a lot of journalism classes and TCOM classes, and then Tuesday spoke to whoever would attend Tuesday night and talked about how he became the host of his own show at the age of 29.
Yes, very young,
which is impressive. It's very impressive. And, you know, I was very intimidated at first because he sat down with me and with one of our anchors, Alana, and for a lunch actually here, and I thought, oh my gosh, he's so big time, you know, we're so little, and he's very down to earth, you know, and he's kind, and he's approachable, and you know, and he's humble. That was the biggest thing that surprised me.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people like that really are. I mean, because we get the image and the thought that, you know, they're on TV, they're a major host of a major news network, that they're going to be, you know, distant, but really they're people just like us. And it's really cool to see him, you know, come to the university and discuss with, especially, you know, like you said, the other broadcast and journalist majors, because that's what they want to do. And so having some inspiration. Yeah,
to come to an accredited journalism school, I think was a good choice. You know, and the other thing that he had to say was, in this day and age, anybody can be a journalist. Anybody can create a blog just like he did, or, you know, get on social media, or start writing their own stuff. And I thought that was very interesting. He said the term aspiring journalist is outdated, because anybody in this day and age can be a journalist.
Right, yeah.
You know, you can film yourself on YouTube and, you know, reporting the daily news and start getting yourself viewers and start getting yourself an audience, and before you know it, you're big time, you know?
I feel like that's really awesome with like technology and social media being such a huge part of like society today. It's actually like very easy to do that, and like to get a buzz around you. You have Facebook friends and 1,000 Twitter followers. If you make YouTube videos or write a blog and you push that out there, I feel like you could like really make something of yourself. And the fact that he came, growing up, I always thought Bowling Green was really a small town, and then like it was a college town. So the fact that he even spotted us and came out and spoke to us really gives you like inspiration. Like I never thought that someone from CNN would come, be in my face and talking to me about what he did at such a young age, and still be humble and still be approachable. And I think that's really awesome for college kids to just get a different dynamic of just a big-time person coming to such a small city.
Yeah, I think students really need to take advantage of opportunities like these. I mean, I couldn't make it. I was in class, but I wanted to go. And because I know in the past we've had speakers like who've been producers on, you know, major shows, like major HBO shows. There was a producer of The Newsroom that came in and spoke, that I went to her, you know, her talk. And that was very informal, because they tell you, like, because they succeeded, and they'll tell you how to succeed.
Yeah, and the other thing that he mentioned was he never thought he was going to be on TV. So really, you can, anything you set your mind to, you can do it, you know?
It's very true.
It's
I mean,
really,
I think it's just about dedication, hard work, and actually building that network. You talking to him is like a network now. He ever sees you again, he'll be like, oh yeah, I talked to you at Bowling Green. It's just like basically just getting that network, talking to people, just putting yourself out there is the best thing, I think.
Yeah. I want to thank you again for joining us today on the panel, and you too, Matt.
Yep.
That's all for the BG24 News Producers Panel tonight. Make sure you check out these stories and more on our website and our Facebook page, and feel free to tweet us on your thoughts on the stories and issues. Have a good night, everyone.